we're in the next part. Please go check out the previous part. You're going to have to get that context to figure out what in the world we're talking about here. It's a very complex argument that ultimately I'm going to piece together in one sound conclusion once I'm done ranting, okay? Think about, in the previous part I was speaking about women who allow themselves to end up married to or dating men that are significantly smaller than them because, ooh, we're all beautiful, we're young, we've got plenty of collagen, and our pores are tight, and our skin is glossy, so we have no issues. And since we both look so good, and since he is the best dancer on the nightclub stage, I've got the popular guy now. Not because he is socioeconomically literally better off than you. Adam, like, literally, he has to be socioeconomically better off than you, not so much your parents. He's got to put you in a more, or if not a minimum, sort of kind of maintained standard of living that you are currently in. So if you are busy having 3 full meals a day with snacks in between, and they all have got rainbow colors on the plate, and you can't eat like that every day with a certain guy because you're like trying to like pinch your budget, you're in the wrong place. A man is supposed to leave his mother and his father, cleave to his wife, and the two become one flesh. So this stuff with all of y'all's fornication, dating haphazardly when you are still in university, nowhere near getting your first apartments because you're nowhere near getting your first jobs, and so the two of y'all are just kind of fumbling together trying to make ends meet, and you're fornicating in the presence of it. It's what leads you to dating or ending up with husbands that are not in your league. The best time for you to figure out when it makes sense for you so that you're not facing a future of gender-based violence or whatever is when at a minimum you're already working in corporate and you meet people of a like mind. Do you understand? I think one of my ex-boyfriends, my ex-boyfriend, the one that I dated for 5 years, I think he got really crazy when we broke up because I was finally in the right environment to meet the right men. I was working in an organization that was teaming at the fold with young professionals that were all graduates from university, and they were all in relatively decent jobs with bright futures facing them in corporate South Africa. I was working with project managers, with business analysts. I was working with people that have been promoted to senior management. I was working with lawyers in legal and regulatory. I was working with accountants and finance. Like, I was working with people that were literally my socioeconomic peers, and they were my age, and they were single, largely unmarried, no baggage on them. I was in the right and perfect environment to meet my husband. Frankly, I believed I was going to meet my husband at work. If anything, the guy that I was besotted with happened to be working in the same building as me. So I think my ex kind of went crazy after we broke up because I was finally at a time in my career where I was encircled by men that would give him a proper run for his money. And so when we broke up, he just went full throttle with a whole bunch of sorcery because I was working in the right space. Like, for instance, when I was working in my first jobs at Netbank, call centering, having had to forcibly drop out of university because my mother was not paying my fees, but I wanted to take myself back to university. So even me finding myself at the call center was the wrong place, but I just had to be there because now that I'm not at university, I gotta work, right? But I would never have ended up in the call center if I had finished my degree on time, if my mom had kept on paying my fees and I was able to finish university. I never would have ever found myself in the call center. So I wasn't even supposed to date then. I wasn't supposed to date because the guys that I was working with, they all left matric and had no interest in studying. Most of them had no interest in studying further. I was in that environment because I had to drop out against my will, but I had future intentions to go back to school. But I was working with a majority of people that were not interested in studying further, higher learning. They hated books. So for me to date somebody that was I remember there was this dude at training for the job Yako call center. I had such a crush on him, and I'm glad things did not work out because he was just yet another matriculant that was happy to just keep on pushing a very steady growth up the, frankly, more than anything plateaued, but only ever so slightly inclined growth up the corporate ladder because you don't have a degree. So I'm glad I didn't date him, but the only reason I didn't date him is because I didn't want to date anybody in my company at the time, right? So I was basically not ready to be in, dating or engaging in courtship relationships until around the age of, literally until about 26 was the only time when I was in the right environment to meet the right guy, because that was when my career was at a place where, one, I wasn't a good enough job, two, I was back at school, so I was basically affiliating with other students at university that was of a sound mind, and in the organization, young professionals like me who are of the same mind, same sort of kind of standards of lifestyling. Yeah, and on top of that, I had many of my own things by then. I had my own car, my own apartment, my own whatnot. So therefore, if a dude rocked up in my grill still living at home, it would be like, but dude, I have my own apartment. That was the right time to basically consider men in that space, because I would have at a minimum to be with a guy that has his own ride. at a minimum be with a guy that has his own apartment, and it has to be fully furnished. He mustn't be sitting on a crate, because mine is fully furnished. He has to also at a minimum have a particular lifestyle, has to dress a particular way, be able to afford certain clothes, because this is a man that with whom we can only go from strength to strength. I could see how ambition is a thing in him, because he's already studied, he finished his degree, he's currently if anything pursuing his masters, and he's got hopes to perhaps one day become promoted to senior manager in the same track of career that he is in. He's also thinking of business ideas at the side, because he after 10 years intends to go independent and start his own entrepreneurial endeavor, so I can be helper suitable behind that. Yeah, those are things that I was in a position to look out for, and this only became a reality for me around 25, 26. It became feasible. So those of y'all that just like took Jolanje on campus, because literally everybody on campus is just gorgeous, you're in trouble. You're in trouble, because these relationships that start at that particular age are the ones that more than likely, if anything, statistically they've been proven to end up in marriage. So if you allow yourself to get into a long-term relationship when none of y'all have anything, as a woman you could find yourself as a bad wife. I'm just saying. Maybe you can, guys, you know what, if like fornication again is an issue, like if you cannot immediately get married because you can immediately afford to pay lobola and immediately engage in some kind of a small wedding, if you cannot do it within the next year, you will inevitably fornicate. Like at the end of the day, it's about honoring God. So I mean, what does it profit you to fornicate at 22, 25, you then get married to that same dude when you're 30, and then you end up getting slapped and asking for a divorce, or even you're 6 feet under, versus waiting until you're like 25, and now there are viable options in your environment that are highly unlikely going to get passive aggressive against you, because they're just as strong as you, if not stronger. And then of course godliness is like a whole thing. Godliness is of course like the primary thing that you must consider, but you cannot leave out as a woman socio-economic circumstances of a man if at all you're going to end up his bride, because men have a thing about power and authority and position, and even though they might pretend they're not about that business, when they're still busy flirting with you, improving their game, putting their best foot forward, the day's gonna arrive when now that they're comfortable and they can let their buttons loose, but they're gonna loose those very buttons on you, in your eye, popping it out or causing some kind of a bloodshot nerve. And God was stressed Eric because he, I don't know, slipped on a teaspoon and landed on your face with a punch or something. That is what under heaven has caused this epidemic of gender-based violence in South Africa. It's because of all of these butch, Kasta women in comparison to the boyfriends that look like Lasizwe. And the long-term effects are GBV, murder. Do you understand? How many of these ladies are getting massacred since anybody go to university? Boyfriends go university. None of them are even working their 9 to 5s yet. They are getting killed across the board by boyfriends that when you calculate the statistics of the boyfriends in comparison to the girlfriends, the chicks were bigger. They had better careers. They had stronger. Think about Ugarabo. She was like this beauty guru mogul. She was just some influencer. This dude was making quite a bit of money. Mara something about him inailing nyane ababulang wena batho tlogelang ho jola le teng lena motho a teng e karabo ona jola le monna na nyetse. So I get to be like things like, you know, guys, you know what, I don't want to get taboo, I don't want to rap on like no man's business, but the position that I find myself in today, in this 2023 year of existence, of the Earth's existence, the position I find myself in today, I'm in it because, believe it or not, I'm going to tell you what's going on here. I got decimated, bewitched like no man's business by, no, make no mistake, not just the deadbeat boys I was dating, but deadbeat boys that wanted to be with me but couldn't be with me, even if they were with women that I knew. As in, one of my ex-boyfriends, but at the time he was my boyfriend, one of my ex-boyfriend's friends, he's a celebrity in the entertainment industry in this country, very well known, put witchcraft on me because he coveted me for a girlfriend. He coveted me for another maid. I only found out that I was strong, I was girthy, and this man was intimidated by me. He was intimidated by me without even being with me. That is the level of animosity and hostility that these men have over women. I was targeted by, it wasn't just one of my ex's boys, right? So I don't really got afflicted by that ex-boyfriend, but one of these boys, and the thing that made him do this to me was the fact that I appeared to be so building of my ex-boyfriend, and to him it was like, why can't I get a girlfriend like that? It's like they covet strong women, they want them, and then once they have them, they abuse them. So I got bewitched by one of my, like, I was so faithful to a guy that had nothing, that a guy that had everything coveted and envied my ex for having me, without realizing that my ex felt like a teaspoon, a tiny little man himself, and in and of himself he was harassing me. I then had, and two of these boys did this to me, like, okay, his best friend, my ex's best friend, bewitched me because Nana Lemona, like, he's my boy, not yours, you're taking my friend away from me. So he put witchcraft to break us up. Two of these boys had a crush on me, and they both put sorcery to separate us, and both of them did it because I was so ride or die to a guy that had nothing. They were so used to dating these slay queens, and they were so sick and tired of these slay queens that take men for granted, that when they saw how ride or die I was to a guy that frankly didn't deserve me, they then were like, you're not going to be the only one that gets to have a good girl. So when you allow yourself to frequent circles of bad men who have bad friends, as a woman, you not only are putting yourself in a position to be ride or die to a bum and a sloth, but you're also putting yourself in a position to be coveted, desired, salivated after by his similarly really horrific bad friends, who are going to wonder, but what do you want in him? What do you see in him? And envy the rare find that you are, given that it's so hard to find women like this, that they're going to bewitch you as collateral damage because God fell out for the meditated better than the others. Yo, guys, yes, like in this life. Okay, so those are the guys in my ex-boyfriend's crew of friends that did this to me. Let's then move on to other randos that were just looking at me from Facebook. Some of these guys were friends in Jeffela because they a friend requested me and I accepted it. Guess how about from a bar, so guess how about like, you know, like random face or like friend requests on Facebook that come from a complete stranger, and because they know 10 other of your friends, you're like, whatever, you know, it can't hurt. It's not like I'm planning on meeting them at the mall. Yeah, I got bewitched by so many such strangers. Yo, guys, like the things that God showed me, I was like, but that person, we spoke once or twice in a DM. Lomunya Grandshop wouldn't even speak in a DM. Every so often he would just like my pics, or he would like comment on a status update that I made. Literally go and invest. I get the guy. However many rands that you pay, a sangoma, 100 rand, 200, 500 on a stranger you have never met anywhere other than on a digital platform like Facebook. Put sorcery on me because they hated my relationship with my ex, and never mind my relationship with my ex, but that was uploading on there, but my life, I was putting my life there, the fabulous things I was doing, the, you know, food lovers market, the wine tasting events, the Joburg fashion week, all the things that I was doing, just basically my Insta life, but on Facebook. Y'all know I'm old, so like Facebook was like the first ever Instagram. Yes, yeah, that whole Insta life that I was living on Facebook, I got bewitched by I don't know how many strange men for being glorious to a man that didn't deserve me, and also glorious as a woman. All of my life, and everybody's face, caused me to get a barrage of sorcery from irresponsible souls that use spiritual weapons against complete strangers, taking monies out of their salaries. The purity. No, they literally went and starved their babies in order to come at my fabulous life. Guys, women also did this to me. I told you, the irresponsibility is on the part of society at large. Like, women are not taking care of other women, and men are feeling tiny. Guys from high school, guys, I almost described a dude that would be identified very easily now if I said what it is. That is his description, so I'm gonna keep that to myself. But some dude that I went to a couple of dudes that I went to high school with, but one of them was especially what is this? It stands out particularly because of how much of a non-relationship we had after matric, and he decided to basically just block all of my prospects. What did that, guys? There was a few from my high school, like a few, like I think I can count them on my one hand, dudes from my high school. It was the fact that I got there. We all went to the same high school, but we did not all end up the same. Guys, that's why, stop it. You might be going to the same schools because your parents can afford the same schools. You might even speak the same Lani English because, like I said, your parents can afford the same schools, but your ambitions are not the same, your constitutions are not the same, and where you're going to end up are not the same. Some of the people you went to high school with are going to go to prison for murder. Some of them are going to commit suicide. Some of them are going to become executives of companies. One of them might even become the president of the country. There are a few Miss South Africas produced from my high school, by the way. Alright? So really, where you go to school with whom does not determine where you end up in life. You need to wait before Nijola, because if you don't wait, you might just end up dating in high school that guy that ends up going to prison for life for murder. And before he goes to prison for murder, there was a woman actually that committed murder shortly after high school. in my high school. Alright, yeah. So you might, yeah. Okay. So prior, if you date this dude that commits murder in 10 years, in 15 years, before getting to that 10 to 15 year mark, he's probably going to be like such a hard knock loser in life that, you know, he'll just be roaming through these streets, scanning through Facebook photos of people that he went to school with, feeling really sorry for himself and how he got nowhere. And then if he's got access to a next door neighbor Sangoma, he's going to come at you. Alright, so by the time one of my exes passed away, he was so emaciated, so skinny, living such a messed up life. He got killed by his party lifestyle at the age of 30. When I was 17 and he was 21, he was so glorious. Yes, like he was so hot. Yes, like mega hot. Yeah, no, mega tandujala back then. He used to love Zol like no weed, marijuana. Back then, he did not. I was busy studying hard knock subjects at school like math, science, biology, accounting, physics, chemistry, all these things. That's what I used to do. Koskolo, okay, all of them on higher grade. This dude on Nasata finished a matric and Nasa Guinness school. He was not interested in studying. He kept on getting the piece job nyana here and there in like random institutions. You remember that hiring drive, yeah, dimension data back in the day of all different kinds of kids that are just like school leaving. Remember that time when Data was hiring literally everybody that was from every high school across Johannesburg. He miraculously got a job with Data, but at the time when we were dating, he was struggling to even so much as like get in that door. Where did Garabo go as soon as she matriculated? She went to Wits University while this dude got some job called Dimension Data. He was 4 years older than me. He was never going to go to university. Maranale Mohoto, he was so cute. And to me, it was like, whatever. While the dude finally did live out the life that he chose, he got emaciated, got sunken in, looked about like 39 at the age of 30. And he didn't look 39 at the age of 30. He looked 17 at the age of 30. He looked like a child. I would have looked like a giant next to him if I had stayed with him, because I was healthy, I was fresh, whereas he was literally eaten away by the party lifestyle because he never let it go. Busy. He had a baby mama with whom he was always fighting. Boyfriend, why didn't you put it in a bunch? But that's the thing. Oh, another thing that also happened that really like made me mad is that a couple of years after we broke up, he went and dated one of my little cousin's friends. I was like, you ought to have known that this little girl is my little cousin's friend. My little cousin was younger than me by 4 years. Chomyachacha was therefore also younger than me by 4 years. He was older than me by 4 years, so he went and dated when she was still in high school one of my baby cousin's friends, Anna 26 or something. He was like 26, rolling these streets with an 18 or 17-year-old, and I was like, oh, really? When my cousin told me that this girl, I felt so stupid, so silly. I felt like, I mean, I'm only 23, 22, and yet I feel like it's because my ex is dating a chick in high school. That is what happens when you date randomly. Rough and high school. Because the dude is cute, he's so hot, and when he dances, everybody like celebrates, eh? He's so swaggerfied. He's so cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, cool can commit murder in 15 years, but before it commits murder in 15 years, it's going to be bitter about how its life turned out in 10 years, and that bitterness is going to cause it to come at you for that. So this same ex then, I mean, he knew my new boyfriend because Johannesburg is just freaking tiny. At some point back in the day, they were in the same clubbing group, jivering group, whatnot. And so when he, just before he passed away, my ex went to some party, but at the time he was my boyfriend. He went to some party, bumped into him, greeted him, and my ex took out his phone out of his pocket while he was standing with this dude, and my pic was on, what do you call it? On like, baby screensaver, whatever. Like I was the photo of my ex's phone, on it was me and him, the two of us. It was a picture of us at the time. And this ex-boyfriend of mine was like, can I see? Because he knew that I was dating my ex and we were doing it for years. And my ex-boy came back and told me basically how that unfolded. And he was like, oh, I bumped into your ex, and you know, he wanted to look at the photos in my phone. And then he was like, oh, Twitter cherry grand, you've got a good girlfriend, like take care of her. I was like, okay, that's kind of awkward, weird stuff. They were not friends as in like close tight. It's just one of those, I didn't date friends. That's what I'm trying to help you guys understand. Anyway, whatever. It was shortly after that same ex-boyfriend, now that I was with another dude, that believe it or not, the same ex or whose friends put witchcraft on me that was not in my league, was better. even though he was still an evil man, than that guy. So my new boyfriend was an upgrade from him, and that ate him up so much that he was like, wow, me, she's never gonna marry this guy, she's never going to be okay. So I got bombarded by sorcery that I only got to understand after he passed away and after I came to Christ. He put witchcraft on me because he found out my ex-boyfriend basically flaunted our relationship in his face, and he got so jealous that he went and took whatever cents he had in his pocket and he paid a sangoma to bewitch my entire future. Unfortunately, a couple of years down the line, he passed away, and my ex and I both were at his funeral, but not before he decided that he's gonna put a whole bunch of sorcery on me. So to this day, I still dream about yo guys, when am I gonna finish? I don't even know if I'm gonna get to exercise today. I keep getting dreams still to this day. The most recent one was about a week and a half ago, where my ex-boyfriend, 5 years, that had the pic of us on his screensaver, and the dead ex that passed away in a car accident. I keep getting, and my ex, he's still alive, alright? I keep getting nightmares of them being friends at my expense, like literally having a whole field day of a bromance with each other while disregarding me. The two of them have basically a pact to watch me destroyed. And I was like, whoa, there was a time when you were the one that was gloating the great girl, and now you are in the same batch. This dead ex in my dream, he's always sitting down in a chair like he's stranded, he's stuck, there's nothing he can do, now it's over. My ex, however, is always standing above him. Nonetheless, the two of them are bosom buddies, bromance at my expense, always in dreams. I keep getting dreams of that nature. So those of you who think that witchcraft ends when a person dies, no, their weapons are eternal, and that's why hell makes fire for eternity. It makes sense, hellfire makes sense eternally. They whatever that dude did prior to dying, it's still in operation to this day. Whether or not he died, it did not sever the contract in the spiritual realm, because the demons that he used to effect that thing are still in operation. So he might today desire greatly a second chance and repentance, but unfortunately it's done for him, it's sealed, and the works that he did are still reverberating throughout history. They are still reverberating throughout history, afflicting the lives of people on the earth. So I think because since you're busy more earth while you are alive, while you are dead, while you are busy enduring your eternal torment or whatever it is that is going on. So I can't say that enough. Like, stop dating in high school, stop dating even in university if you can't afford to get married while you are studying. Stop it, because you are attracting for yourself people who are going to get bitter later on. You don't know when a person is going to be taken out of your league by life slapping them upside the head. So what happened on Facebook is that I got older, I grew into my glory, grew into my brains, because I was always very smart, and those brains got me somewhere. I gained a great career, I was a fabulous young woman, I had a beautiful apartment, I had a lifestyle on fire. I was living it up, do you understand? And however, I was being looked at by alumni from my high school that weren't quite where it is that they needed to be in life. Some of them lady baby mama, the boy, baby daddy that did not quite make fulfilled promises out of their pregnancies. Some of them were guys that were just struggling to make it to the next promotion. The supervisor go the call center, or the call center that thing, or the go guess or Santon as the oldest casual there, yeah, type thing. And so Joano Garabo on Facebook is just this bane of their existence. I had another one at my company, by the way. He actually worked at my organization and was older than me by a year. He was older than me by a year. So in my high school, he was in matric when I was in grade 11, and I found him at MTN. Or did he find me? And I think he came before me. I found him at MTN, and I grew so fast at MTN. Ultimately got promoted, became a project manager. By the time I left, I was a program manager working on some massive company-wide program that basically I reported into the CEO concerning. That's how quickly I was growing. All right, like weeds, essentially. This dude was a tester. He was a tester, and he had been stranded in testing for pretty much since I found him at MTN. So I started as an administrator, got promoted twice, and he was in the same position. He was older than me by 1 year. He was in matric when I was in grade 11. So essentially, he should have been my boss, or at least something equivalent to me, growing at more or less the same speed. But I was pretty much his boss now, because he was a tester and I was a project manager / program manager. Every so often he had to report into me on projects that were being launched to the market, but prior to that we had to do testing, and I would invite him. He would get allocated to my project. So now here's this dude that was in matric when I was in grade 11. Essentially, I was his junior, and now I'm his boss, more or less. On a matric organization, he had to report into me in my project. It ate him alive. Emojile, do you understand? And so while he was so sweet, yeah, they're sweet on the surface. He had a girlfriend that he converted, as I later came to learn, into a fiance and then ultimately wife. Why in the world would you do that to me? He was such a sweet dude, and he decimated me with sorcery. I have dreamt about him about 4 times ever since leaving MTN. And in many of the intervals where I dream about him, I see him feeling guilty, but to him it was like, I'm sorry that this happened to you, but you cannot get your life back. It's like he kept on going back to the drawing board, to his sorcery. What happened to that guy? He got jealous of a woman that got stronger than him because he was not ambitious enough to get his dreams at the speed of lightning as I was. It's not like he wasn't smart enough. He was just one of those, I guess I'm just gonna wait to get promoted. He wasn't proactive. He was just kind of sitting gathering dust, hoping they'll give him a raise, hoping they'll give him a promotion. But I was pushing. I was forceful, essentially. Frankly, I was kind of violent in trying to grow my career. I kept on going back on some project manager, and now to promote that guy. I used to sulk a lot, and so I ultimately got to where I wanted to get because I made it clear that I'm gonna leave. I don't know how many times I threatened to leave because you're not giving me the opportunity that I wanted. I've proven myself. I'm doing whatever I want. I've shadowed project managers. I've done ABC. And then eventually somebody recognized me, noticed me, and gave me the promotion I so desperately worked literally 1 year too long to get. They kept me in that like administrative position for 1 year too long. I was supposed to be in the other, like I came from the previous company that I was in, Go Kijima. Still a project manager. I took a demotion because I wanted to work for MTN. So I was already a project manager. So what do you mean? I have to, they made me sit around for 2 years, and in that 2 years I fought a vehement war. I was a volcano. I was a vortex twisting. I was a whirlwind. Do you understand? And the wind that I was like basically releasing in the environment finally caused somebody to be like, whoa, enough with the hurricane. We will give you a promotion. I fought for my promotion. I worked like a dog. I got heard. I made my voice a projectile out there. That was my ambition. These are the kinds of things that these guys see in corporate. Little tornadoes rolling around in corporate, refusing to be left to sit around in a position for 5 years before they get their next promotion, while they're sitting there hoping to get the promotion, hoping to be given a little bump by some other person, while women skyrocket past them. And that's what happened with this dude promoted twice while he was just sitting gathering dust in the same company we were working with, both being black people, with him having more opportunity given that he was a male, and yet I overwhelmed him. I could him, and I ended up pretty much the tantamount of his boss on projects, and he decided that I had to be stopped. That's what's going on. So if I had dated that guy, since he was in the trick and I was in grade 11, can you imagine the kind of husband I would have ended up with? It turned out he had a big enough crush to try and decimate me despite an elite fiance, because in one of the dreams he was trying to get with a sister. That under heaven is what is going on in the world, and you women are literally allowing yourselves to get overwhelmed, cooed, and taken over by men that don't make sense for you. Before the dude that worked in my company, that was in my high school, is yet more evidence of the fact that you gotta wait a little while to see what happens with people. It is usually around the ages of 24, 25, 26 that you're able to spot what's more or less safe, but you are highly unlikely going to find that out in varsity, because some people drop out. Literally my ex-boyfriend dropped out of college after 2 years. Over 2 years, I'm like, dude, I tried so hard to get him to go back. So you can't even say at least he's in 3rd year, because there are people who literally quit school who said the semester A1, and you're like, but you were almost there. Will do that. It's not like he had an alternative plan. It's not like I said he was a little bit of a Mark Zuckerberg or a Steve what do they call this, Jobs, with a pioneering idea that really university is wasting his time, and if he just sells it to the right guy, he's going to become a millionaire overnight. He does not have a backup plan. He just is tired of studying. I got called in for a job interview at the call center at Liberty Life. They are giving me 15,000 rands. Yeah, and are they going to give you a what do you call this thing? A scholarship to finish your degree? But it's 15,000 rands. Oh my goodness, are you serious? So you're gonna leave school where you could earn double that amount within just 2 years of finishing your internship program for getting raises of 5% every year if you stay in the same position, or maybe just 10% or 15% if you skip companies, versus double that amount just because you finished an internship program, 18 to 24 months. Do you understand what you are sacrificing? Like when a man just does not see that and you try to like drill it into his and he is not, like I said, embarking on some kind of an entrepreneurial endeavor that is promising to become the Apple of the future because his name is Steve Jobs, you gotta go. It is at literally around the ages of 24, 25, 26 that you can spot this. So before then, women, you shouldn't be dating. Look, all you will do is fornicate and maybe likely get married to men that are one day going to become abusive. I have just explained to you guys how it is that these men that I went to high school with, that we were on the same level with at some point, because I catapulted beyond them, or because I dated better than them, or because whatever, even if I didn't date them, but I just became a better woman later on and they saw me on Facebook, they then decided to put a whole flood of sorcery on me. Women are also doing this, but there is a very large percentage, conglomerate of men that are bewitching women who are getting really strong, really good at what they do because they covet them, they envy them, they also want them romantically. They've got like an ambivalence, a bit of a cognitive dissonance going on. They've got a little bit of an earthquake in their heads and they are hurting them, literally, so that they can rock up and rescue them. They discover that this is a great girl, she's ride or die, so let me bring her low so I can rescue her because in this position she's too big for me. And that's what happened. I got bewitched by so many men to bring me low, one of which even dared have the audacity to try and get with me now that I was low. And that guy was the one that I did date that called himself a Christian. After I got suspended unfairly from my job for no reason at all, he called me on some, I'm gonna be your support. I'm like, what? God showed me that you're a witch. How in the world, after you literally tripped me up so that you could be in a position to come and rescue me, how in the world are you calling me to be the only source of support that I have? Oh, Janice and Jambries, when I told him I know what he did last summer, he left me alone. He never came back again. And then about a year into my suffering, I then had a dream of one dude that put Corobella on me that I was working with in corporate, literally trying to find me to see if he can't get with me now. If at all, I won't want him now that he is basically still in the same job, maybe even promoted, that he was in, that we were basically working when I was still in the organization, but this time around, he's the only one with the salary. He's the only one with the salary while I've lost mine and he still likes me. No, it wasn't. Yeah, that was the one. Okay, on and Corobella, two of them. One of them is actually quite prolific in the country today. You would be shocked to know of him. When I said it was MTN at the time, every so often he's in adverts in South Africa. Because yeah, no, that dude. And he put Corobella on me, didn't even want to try and talk to me first to see if maybe I would even accommodate him despite his like bad rap sheet. I wouldn't have, but anyway, he went all the way out there like that because he thought I was the perfect woman for him because he found my blog online and imagined that him and I are mapped together. After I lost everything and fell apart, go MTN, because he had established my virtue and my value from my blog, my Christianity, and he imagined me really gorgeous and he also thought I was really smart. He was like, what's the point of letting a good woman go? This is a dude to the ex-wife, and the ex-wife almost see because literally irreconcilable differences is not a reason for divorce. Nonetheless, according to that guy, I was basically a damsel in distress. I was valuable enough for him to rescue because he knew what he was dealing with. After all, he had put Corobella on me. I had a dream when I was struggling in my apartment, or Lone Hill, when I was basically facing a future of being evicted because I couldn't afford rent anymore, and I had a dream of him rocking up and rescuing me the day and being prepared to take care of me no matter what anybody would say, basically singing to me, nobody wanna see us together, but it don't matter, no. Basically saying, I don't care what the world will say, I will love you. When we were working together at MTN, I wouldn't even look at him because of his rap sheet, like I told you. Divorcee, bana by two, almost teenagers, okay? But now that I was in a lowly position, apparently, allegedly, I would be content to be the, immediate instant mom of two teenage girls. And except in his blog, he had a blog, and in one of his articles he wrote about how weddings and the institution of marriage is overrated. So I was like, what or you want to take me to the court to sign? Dude, I need like a whole big fat shebang because I've never been married before. You've had a woman walk down the aisle too, and you want me to take all that baggage and run with it. You literally want me to pass up the prospect of an excellent wedding day because you're exhausted with lenyalo, facing, and you've already done the big fat chunky white wedding parade, and so I don't get to get mine. Hey, I got a dream where this dude was like prepared to come and take me now that I was in a lowly position. He had put so much sorcery on me to destroy my whole life, my career, that when I lost my career, when I lost my job, he tried to slip back in. And I don't know how he intended to do this, but the Lord wrote me in a dream. 2 guys did that. No, 3. Like I made mention of the one that I used to date, and then the other one right? And then this one, and he was handsome. Like he was one of those. He was just gargantuan. He towered over everybody. His height. He was just an alpha male. Like absolutely handsome. Absolute, but like he was finished goods. For me, it was like second scraps. I don't want it. Maybe 10 years ago I might have been happy to accommodate you, but no, your handsomeness does not count. Which again goes back to the point that I'm trying to highlight here, that Bukutu is not enough, guys. To be hot, to be tall, dark, and handsome, to be just this gliding. Like this dude was so hot, that I used to basically come, like when he walked around, he never used to walk, he used to glide. He was so fly. But that was not enough. That was not enough. If anything, it was because of him that I became kind of drawn to West African men, because goodness gracious, labo shotim boda South Africa, bazo kataza, guys. I'm 1.7 meters tall. That dude was the perfect height, but all of these other stats were messed up. Women, y'all need to hold up and look to Lago, because it is ruining your futures. If I were to end up married to that gliding like giraffe from Ghana, I would have had a handsome husband with gray jeans, but he would have been a Satanist on fleek, and I would have ended up still a battered wife. Next part.